Hey everyone, James here and welcome back to the Gamefree YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be going into all the stuff that people don't want to admit about video games. It's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of you. We're going to be covering some of the myths and the beliefs and the conditioning that you've been led to believe about video games. And I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to overcome this way of thinking once and for all. And as a reminder, I do have some spaces available in my Gamefree coaching program. So if you resonate with this video and want to take things to the next level and become truly game free, book a call, get in touch, and I will do whatever I can to help you overcome it. So without further ado, let's get into this video on the dark side of gaming. Alright, so there are three parts of this video. There's the facts, there's the myths, and there's the conditioning. Now firstly, I want to go into the facts of the gaming industry because gaming has become so popular over the last decade or two, and there are so many things that we are led to believe about this industry that have just become commonplace, and no one's really questioning it. And if you do question it, then you're seen as a heretic, an outsider, and kind of crazy. So the first thing I want to ask you is, how many gamers do you think there are in the world? Now, a gamer can be anyone that just plays casually on their phone or hardcore for dozens of hours every week. But what's your answer? 100 million or higher? In reality, over half of the adult population, that's over 2.5 billion people, play video games regularly, which is astonishing. Now, the size of the gaming industry is ludicrous. If you take every film, every cinema experience, every streaming site like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Disney Plus, all these different things, combine that with the Bollywood industry and every independent movie company around the world, and then you combine that with the music industry, so Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, everything that comes under that, every record label, every single, every album sale. You put those two things together, music and film, and you're still nowhere near the size of the video game industry. This thing is seriously massive, and people think that the media and like the arts and all these different things have a lot of influence over the way people think, but when it comes to that opinion of the video game industry, they just dismiss it. They don't think that anything bad can come from this, and yet video games have way more sway over people than they realize, because when there's this much money, they kind of get to do whatever they want. So whether that's hiring psychologists to really eke out as much money as possible from people who play their video games through microtransactions, or maybe it's patenting certain technology that completely changes the way that we play and think about playing, well, these are all things that happen on a global scale, on a level that people aren't even aware of. And not only that, this normalization of video games is having so many detrimental effects on the population. And when you combine gaming with one of the other incredibly damaging things, which is porn, which has also become normalized, well, you're basically wiping out an entire generation of young men especially. And you might call me crazy, but let's think about it for a second. Through gaming, porn, and let's throw in another one, takeaway food, which has also become normalized. When you put these three things together, pretty much every single need that human beings have on a fundamental level is being accomplished by those three things. Porn covers your sexual relationships and intimacy. Takeaway is your need for food and sustenance. And then gaming covers your social interaction, your need for challenge and accomplishments, and the need to escape, which is a fundamental need of human beings. We do need time to escape. You're fulfilling all of these needs from these three things, but you're not getting anything tangible from them, and they're only having negative effects down the line. And so what you're doing is creating a generation of people that rely on these quick hits of dopamine, these reward systems, that take no pleasure from other activities, and don't want to do anything except stay in this virtual world because, well, it's comfortable. It's a safe space to escape to, and they don't want to deal with the difficulties, the challenges of the real world. And so they kind of cocoon into this environment they've created for themselves and never really escape. And it's normal. It's almost encouraged by a lot of people to indulge in gaming and porn and quick hits of dopamine wherever you can. It's completely backwards to what we should be doing. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest myths about gaming that is still around today is that gaming is healthy. People tout its ability to make them feel relaxed or to improve their reflexes or to be fun and social and all this good stuff, but in reality, none of that is true. I've never played a video game and felt more relaxed after it, ever. It doesn't matter if I stop playing at 10 p.m. or 12 a.m., whatever it might be, I am never more relaxed after I play. And yet this is always the go-to response from people when I ask them why they play video games. And then you get into the things like it being fun or a good escape, or what are you trying to escape from? And it's things like this, it's myths like this that are being perpetuated over and over again in society that make people very defensive about video games. Because in reality, the benefits you think you gain from video games aren't truly fulfilling. Over time, you become despondent, you become disassociated with real life. You no longer get enjoyment from things that you used to, from old hobbies. How many times have you stared at your Steam library or Xbox library or whatever it might be, looking for a game to play, hoping something just jumps out at you, something that can bring you that new hit of dopamine that make you feel something? It's why we go back to old games and install loads of new mods. Skyrim's very popular for this. People think that they can just go back to a game and make this whole new experience, but after a few days we just feel hopeless again. We don't feel enjoyment or fulfillment from these activities like we once did, because your brain has gotten used to that level of reward and it's constantly seeking bigger and bigger thrills in the same way that a drug addict or an alcoholic does, or a gambling addict. And it is truly damaging over a long term. And yet even the people that play a couple of hours here and there, they think it's healthy and normal. But that is time that you could be spending on your relationship. It's time you could be spending bettering yourself in ways that have a physical, tangible benefit, like reading a book or doing a hobby or going to see friends. I don't know, there's so many different possibilities. And the fact of the matter is that gaming has no benefit in your life. It has no upside. Seriously, try to think about something that's positive that's come from gaming in your recent experiences. And you're not allowed to mention the word relaxing or like social or whatever else it is, because the social interaction in a video game is far, far different than actually seeing people in real life. Now, obviously COVID has changed that recently, but that's not going to be the case forever, and you can't stay cocooned in that bubble for the rest of your life. It's just not healthy. And so people that are healthy gamers or normal gamers, they've built this identity around video games for their entire life. And there is nothing really outside of it. If you strip that away, you break away that bubble, what is left? Nothing. There's no achievements, no accomplishments, no benefits, no knowledge of anything other than in-depth knowledge of a video game or the intricate lives of streamers and YouTubers or whatever it might be. That's all they can talk about. And that's why people are so reluctant to stop playing, because deep down they know that if you burst that bubble, they are going to have to deal with the real life. They're going to have to build themselves up from zero. And it is scary. There's a lot of fear around it. But if you truly want to grow, it's those difficult situations that really make the difference. Because once you can accept that video games aren't healthy and that there are no benefits to playing them, you're really opening up a lot of these problems for you to overcome. But that's what's beautiful about it. It's so rewarding, so genuinely fulfilling in a way that gaming will never match up to. And once you get a taste of it, then your life will never be the same. And lastly, I want to go into some of the conditioning that you've been led to believe about video games. And the main one that I want to talk about is this idea of having an addictive personality. Now, I've talked about this before, but let me ask you something. Are you addicted to video games because it's your personality and you're just have a tendency to seek out addictive behavior? Or is it because you've engaged in something that is addictive for a long period of time and you've fried your reward senses and your dopamine response, whatever else it is, to the point where you now seek out these quick fixes, these instant hits of dopamine over other activities? Because for a long time I was led to believe that I had an addictive personality, and that was just the root of all my problems. But that just wasn't the case. I'd played video games, which are an incredibly poisonous, addictive, damaging thing. I'd played them for so long that I'd just gotten used to that kind of activity. And I no longer wanted to do rewarding, fulfilling things, like building something, like photography or music or whatever else it might be. And that's just what happens over time. If you play for a long period, you get used to that sense of reward. And it is very, very damaging. But another thing that's also damaging is this idea that when you stop playing and you overcome an addiction, it is supposed to be excruciatingly painful. It is difficult every day. You're always in recovery. You're always an addict. But that is just not the case. This is something I teach people time and time again. If you really understand addiction and you break video games down into the fundamentals and rebuild in the proper, healthy way, quitting gaming becomes effortless. It's no longer an addiction that you're struggling against. You have total control over video games, over every aspect of your life. And when you get to make a choice, it is truly freeing. And that is why I call it game free, because there's a difference between quitting gaming and being free to make your own choices, to live the life that you want. And that's what I help people do through the Game Free program. There is a better way than detoxing or relying on moderation and relying on willpower that I help people with. And if that is something that interests you, click the link below, book a free discovery call for the Game Free program, and I'll see if I can help you out however I can. But that just about wraps up this video and everything I wanted to say. It's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, probably going to trigger a lot of people, get a lot of angry comments down below, but if you want to add to that, feel free. I'm all for it, and I'll do my best to answer it however I can. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I shed some light, made you realize some things that you didn't realize before. And yeah, it feels like I'm talking quickly. I can see the battery light on my camera starting to go, so I'm trying to get this all out as fast as I can. But that's it for this video. If you got something out of it, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.